Earth, Lunar, Thunder, and Wind are your top 4 elements in Elestriad Season 3. Elestriad veterans DistantCoder and Caleb.exe look to overcome Elestriad newcomers, TheLawYGO and Sunseed Jess.
Today's clash pits Wind versus Thunder, whirling potential versus established power.
And today's clash is dual commentated by myself, PK Sparks, and Solar's strongest soldier, Trishula.
Both of these decks have seen a lot of success in Elestriad as well as the competitive circuit. And today, we will see if the power of Arcalith may tip the scales to Thunder, or if Wind can make up the difference without its signature Aeolith, releasing soon in the upcoming Moonrise expansion. Moonrise is the next expansion for the Elestrals TCG, featuring powerful new cards like Aeolith, as well as the formidable lunar phase theme that personally I'm very excited to explore.
And you'll also find staple Omni runes, Gorgon's Gaze, and Poison Tipped Arrow in the Postamoose starter deck. What are you waiting for? It is time to pre-order. Link is in the description below. While we wait for the moon to rise, let's see what the Law has brought for his top 4 clash versus Coder.
Zeus be blessed, we made top 4. I am extremely impressed with myself for making it this far. I am glad that I can make Zeus proud, as well as represent my fellow Casters Corner members against 2 of the Elestrauts and a World Championship competitor. Honestly, it is impressive that I've made it this far, and I'm just glad to be here. So let's get down to brass tacks. We're up against Coder of the Elestrauts today. He's on Wind, and we have to fine-tune our deck to kind of take care of that. But for the most part, we are running a very similar build to what we've done recently with Arcalith. Starting out with our Elestral line, we've got 3 Rabbit, 3 Elechick, 3 Jolton. Kind of standard for what you'd expect out of the little guys at this point. We've got ourselves 2 Arcalith. Once again, you want to see him in the match, but you don't want to see him so often that he bricks up your opening. 2 Quackle, he's effectively additional copies of Ambro. 3 Eddie, we're actually upping our Eddie count here, namely because you'll notice very quickly here we cut the Toxeon. Eddie doubles as both a guy and as removal, and has really overperformed in the last couple of matches. Lastly, and probably most interestingly here, we have 3 Viserys. Viserys is actually extremely notable here, as with Wind, board presence is everything. Whoever can stick a guy and actually make it through a couple of phases is going to win the game. It really does come down to board presence for this specific matchup, and Viserys allows us to hold board presence a lot more effectively, as it's going to be able to trade down one of their guys and then put another guy on the board. You'll notice when we get to our spirit count though that we are not really playing a whole lot of Earth. We're playing 1 additional to make for the Viserys line, and that's because anytime we cast out with Viserys for its special cast, we are going to misenchant it, either with a Thunder to boost under Mount Olympus, or with a Frost to dodge Cryoblast. Moving into our rune lines here, we got 3 Ambrosia, all to be expected. Our Thunder package, 2 Zeus, 2 Race, 2 Mount Olympus. You might be noticing we're down a copy of Race this time, and that is because we are actually going to be on 3 Cryoblasts in addition to that. Cryoblast is actually really good for this matchup because not a lot of the Winds actually have big defense bodies. The only one that's like relevant is P-Gust, and as long as we can get around that and blast with Cryoblast on anything that sticks, we are going to be in a really good position. Past that, we've also got a copy of Earthquake, 2 copies of Tsunami, because once again, if they build up board presence, we lose, so we need to be able to stop big attack pushes. We got 3 PTA, which is effectively copies 2, 3, and 4 of Earthquake, and 3 copies of Gorgons. I expect that Wind Nexus shenanigans are going to be on the table. This stops that. This also stops more cheeky stuff like potentially a Hydrake line. Just all in all, really happy to see it. It also stops Verituka, which is something that has been really powerful against me in testing. As for our spirit count, a lot of it's going to be kind of standard. Got ourselves 12 Thunders. We've got ourselves 3 Earths, 2 for the Earthquake, 1 for a Viserys line, 3 Leviathan, kind of as expected, an Owloon, and a Flurmine. Flurmine for the Cryoblast, and Owloon for a piece in our side deck. As for the side deck here, we have a couple of very specific options. The first of which is 2 Necruff and a Smoltuga. This is here to go in over Viserys if we're going into something that has a lot of suppression. If I see him going into something like Dense Fogs and Gorgon's Gaze, this can sub out for the Viserys line and still give us a lot of potential power. Next up is 2 Veritaqua. This is in case he goes for a more defensive route like Arrowmare. I do see that being a potential threat. We've got Arcalith and a Quackle. These are more situational matchups. If we're up against a burn kind of lineup, Quackle's here to kind of provide another copy of Ambrosia. If he's playing extra aggressive and not respecting Arcalith, we have another one we can bring in to take advantage of that. As for runes, we've got a Mount Olympus in case we need to play the Stadium War, a Race to the Top in case we think that Cryoblast is not really going to cut it. We got ourselves 2 Thunderstorm in case he's going heavy enchant on his Aeoluses. This can actually completely counter that out, and I'm very happy to see it here. We got a Boom Bat. I understand I have him down on the runes, but he really is just a removal piece for something big, like potentially a Penterror. We got ourselves a Resting on Your Laurels, just additional removal that might come in over Cryoblast. And then 2 Dense Fogs, once again for if he's on something cheeky. All in all, I'm confident. I think we actually have a really good shot here. I'll see you guys in finals. It's going to be a great one.
Looks like Law is going to be bringing a pretty standard Thundered strategy. This is something that if you've played Elestrals in the competitive scene before, you're likely familiar with already. But it seems Law has some tricks up his sleeve as we have made a return to form for Thunder with the inclusion of the powerful Viscerus. This is something that I chose to include versus my Wind opponents in Elestriad this season as well, and it makes perfect sense to me that Law would choose to include it in his deck. Viscerus being able to swarm the board gives it a lot of offensive pressure against Wind's small offensive bodies.
I do like the ability to flex into Smotuga and Necro for a small 5 package, Veritaqua in case defensive play does come out from Coder as well, and also having Boombat, Arcalith, and Quackle just to double up on strategies he's already playing in his main deck.
What's up, my Nimbugs? It's your boy Coder, and we somehow, some way, have made it into top 4 with this abomination. I cannot believe that I beat Josh last week, and now this week we're facing off against Law, another really good Elestrals player. So I'm a little bit stressed about the match, but I think I've come up with like a pretty solid idea for the deck that I want to be playing. And I know you see the Hydrake up on top here, but there's a little bit more to this deck than that. So let's just get into it, and I'll show you guys the strategy because I think you guys are going to really like this one. I really cooked something nice with this, so let's run it. So I got a Hydrake, a Twindra, and a Penterror. Obviously, these cards are really nice. They put up a lot of pressure, which is cool. More pressure. We got a 5 attacker in the form of Sorlet, 2 Nemesail for heal because this deck is expensive. We got 2 Galaxair because this card beats pretty much every guy in his deck, even under Mount Olympus, with the exception of Jolton. So this beats Elichik, it beats Rabbit and everything, which is really, really strong. We got the P-Gust. We got 1 Verituka and 1 Exaltair to close out our toolbox, obviously because Aeolus is able to search all of this. And to round out our Wind cards, I'm also playing 2 copies of Islands of Aeolia. And in the main this time around, I'm only playing 2 Aeolus because I feel like this specific build doesn't need the Aeolus as much. I think you can get away with not drawing it every single time because you're not focusing much on the Exaltair or the Nexus plays. So you can get by not drawing this or drawing it just like a single time throughout the game. You kind of don't want to see multiple because the cards in this deck are really, really expensive, especially with like this line here. So it just means that I'm basically playing 5 copies of Hydrake, but the toolbox is also pretty complete with the remainder of the cards that I'm able to search. So I do have some variety of cards that I'm able to go get. Then, obviously, playing 3 copies of Astrabid because this is just like consistency. Don't need to explain this one. And I also, with the same kind of line of thinking with the Galaxair, I'm also playing 2 Eddy because the Eddy is also able to do kind of the same thing that the Galaxair is able to do. It's able to deal with guys, and because post side, this card, I'm pumping it up to 3 because post side, you'll notice my deck is going to be looking a whole lot different than what it looks like pre-side. And then after that, for the generic stuff, I'm playing 3 copies of Ambrosia, 1 Laurels, 1 EQ. This is just like standard at this point. You kind of have to play this. If you're not playing these cards, then, you know, your deck is going to be suboptimal. It is what it is. And then counter rune lineup, I'm going 3 Gaze, 3 PTA, 3 Shield, and 2 Tsunami. I figured I'm playing water anyway because of the Eddies. I might as well put in the Tsunamis. And this is pretty good into stuff like the Arcalith too, just because Arcalith in general, you know, you turn it to defense and then you're able to walk over it with something like a Sorlet or stuff like that. So I figure the card is like decent, and like all of his main deck guys are like really small, like the Jolton and the Elichik. They're pretty tiny, so you can just walk over those whenever you Tsunami him. And then for my spare deck, I'm playing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 Lycoris, 4 Zaptor, 3 Leviathan, and 2 Teratlus. So this is for the Earthquake, this is for the 2 Tsunami and the 2 Eddy, and this is for the Ass Rabbits. Now, I know what you're wondering. Why the heck am I on 4 Thunder with 3 Ass Rabbit in the main and no other Thunder cards? There's a reason, and the reason for that is the side deck. So the idea that I think that Law is going to look at my previous games, and he's thinking, because I beat his teammate on Thunder using the heal stall strategy deck, I think he's going to build fairly heavily to beat that deck, and he's going to side really heavily to beat the Pantera deck, because that's what I played last week against Josh. So my guess is he's going to be main decking stuff like the like poison tipped arrows and all that stuff, and like maybe some Gorgon's Gazes because it's good into heal stall, and potentially something like a Viserys. And that card is kind of scary because it goes pretty wide, but it's not as good into the Pantera stuff. And I think he's probably going to be side decking stuff like the Dense Fog because that's what beats the Pantera stuff. So I think that he's going to want to post game 1 side pretty heavily to beat Pantera, and then that's when I pop out with my side deck, which is the heal stall strategy entirely in the side. So I got 3 Quackle, 2 Boombat, a Verituka, a Nemesail, an Exalter, a Toxiswarm, an Eddy. I bring in the 3rd Aeolus, the 2 Cryoblast, and then I bring in the 5th Thunder Spirit and the Floor Mine for the 2 Cryoblasts. So post side, I'm basically removing the Islands of Aeolia. I'm removing the Pantera stuff and all that. I'm removing like a Sorlet or 2, putting in the Eddies, putting in the Boombats, putting in the Quackles, and I have like the whole like Thunder lineup, so the 5 Thunder Spirits to utilize the Quackle, because I think post side he might go maybe potentially even into like a Thunder Burn type of situation, because he'll see the Pantera cards and he'll go, I have to stop those because they put a lot of pressure and those cards are really expensive, so he might go kind of heavy on the burn stuff, probably not expecting me to post side beyond heal stall. So this is the idea with the deck. I'm hoping that it works out. Do I have a lot of faith in it? Not really, because Thunder is like leagues better than Wind ever could hope to be. Here's hoping that in later sets we get better Wind cards, because these cards are kind of mid. But hey, here's hoping that we can pull out a win. I'm going to do my best, and good luck to Law, brother. Have a good one, and I'll see y'all in the game.
Coder's profile looks really good to me. Galaxair, Exaltair, Verituka, I understand it all. But I know this has to be your brainchild, Trish. What is going on with Pantera?
What do you mean?
Why is he here? What did you influence?
Pantera best deck. I love Pantera. That card's awesome. Look at him. He's just a little dragon. He's a little football. You just throw him down and bam, crashes in.
Big guy go burr. Big guy go burr. What about the side deck?
I think the side deck for Coder looks really, really strong. It looks like he has the ability to switch out of this super cool Pantera strategy that he's got going on and into a more standard Wind burn. So maybe if that Pantera payoff does not end up working out in the way that Coder might hope, then he always has the backup plan of playing a more standard Wind Nexus. But I love seeing this type of innovation, and I love that the Elestriad format brings out all of the crazy techs when it comes to this game.
The clash begins. Top 4 is now on your screen, and it looks like, don't tell me we have a mulligan from Coder starting off the match. Wow, an immediate mulligan.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes with those, the Pantera strategy, you can just end up with cards you don't want in your hand, like Pantera, maybe a Twindra or something. Maybe he's just trying to dig for more impactful cards. Interesting to see him expend both a Zaptor and a Lycris there.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that kind of tells what he feels like he doesn't really need in his strategy, just going for his... You know what? Yeah, it is, which is interesting. We had Law going first in this clash, expending the draw and only setting 1, and now we have Coder dropping a Hydrake, that beautiful Shadow Stars art. That's my favorite art.
It's so good. I actually even have one like right next to me. You know, it's such a good card. It's so pretty, such a good little football.
We have a Gorgon's Gaze dropping down to the Electric, which is a very good play for Coder. You do not want to let Thunder run rampant with Zeus, so if any time you can stop that, the better. And now you have a situation where Hydrake, if I recall correctly, does float on destruction. Am I correct?
Yeah. So if it's destroyed in battle, it can summon a Twindra out of the deck, which is really, really good. And
you know what else is better? A race to the top. And right now, Hydrake is far at the bottom.
That
Electric is
incredibly good for Law.
Yeah, That was really good for Law, getting out the hydrate, stopping the float from everything. And you can even see a little bit of like, just conversation from Coder. I think it was like, yeah, you just happened to get around that. So, but hey, fortunately, the island of Aeolus is right there to reestablish stadium presence.
So it's such a good card to have against Thunder in general, is just having those stadium runes, because Thunder really wants the Olympus up to have those race to the tops. It's kind of one of their strongest plays. So Coder being able to just remove that super easily while also buffing his own guys, super good play from him.
We have the poison tip arrow hitting the Galaxair. Do you want to talk about the ruling here, or should we just press on?
Well, it's interesting here because Galaxair is a little different than Galaxy because it's not a continuous effect. It's activated. So this is almost kind of a weak poison tip arrow from Law because, he needs to get rid of this Galaxair, but, he reduces the stats and he's able to just switch the Elechick and still be able to be over it thanks to the island of Aeolia. So a lot of value from that island this turn.
There's a lot of value returning back to Law as well. The Quackle sitting at a 2-3, hitting in for 1, getting a spirit differential of 15 to 12. And I cannot go a turn further without drawing attention to Coder's mat. Dude, that Divine is beautiful. He's a beautiful man, but still.
So good. I keep begging him to send me one of those.
We gotta win an Elestriad, man.
We do. We need like a friendship Elestriad rune, like the two of us. Also, can we just talk about this Nemisail that came down and just immediately started healing to keep pace with that Quackle?
Well, to be fair, it didn't heal. It did get Gorgon's Gazed.
True.
So it did not heal anything, and now we have the Viceroy eating a shield, which honestly I think is great for Law right now. Also, the Viceroy is coming into play. If there's one thing that I know Coder does not like dealing with, it is a Viceroy that gets out of hand. So that's a mental advantage on Law side.
Absolutely. Especially because the Viserys is probably one of the scariest cards that Law could have in this matchup. But I think this Nemisail actually got insane value this game because not only did it heal for 2 just now, but it functionally healed for 2 by removing that Gorgon's Gaze from the board, but also dealing 2 points of spirit damage effectively to Law. So that's like a 4 spirit Nemisail right there.
Even right now, the Nemisail is at 5 attack. Well, the face down with Zeus, so I guess that didn't really do anything. Hopefully, the 2 back row of Coder is live. Otherwise, the Viceroy is going to start the steamroll. We have 1 additional set. The attack is called. Is there any active back row? It's a Shield of Achilles. The second one. That thing is just punching all the shields.
Yeah, like not only did a second shield come down, but also Law had to...
Whoa! Gorgon's Gaze again!
That's insane. That's just crazy. This is the world's most valuable Nemisail.
Honestly, like the healing, the status on it right now, this is the most potent Nemisail I've ever seen. But another Elechick. This is problematic. The face down. And nope, we have a nod of Coder just accepting his fate. So now we have another Zeus in hand. I'm assuming it was activated and added. We have the drop right there, and is the back row live? That's the question. If the back row is live, there's a good chance Coder can win on this next turn, or at least be in a really favorable position.
It's the third shield! Oh my god! Shield. That's insane! And you want to know what's crazy about this too? Law had the chance to play another Viserys that past turn, but because he played that Elechick, he might just be out of Earth spirits, just completely.
That's possible, yeah. We only have, if we can check his list real quick, he only has 3 Earth Spirits, and we know he spent 2. Don't know if we might have spent 1 just on an expend. We have the healing, we have the Ambrosia, Coder going way up. Did he spend from his spirit deck? Regardless, he's at 8 right now, hitting for 4. So now we know he's not going to have any Earth left. He has to have Ambrosia in his hand right now.
And I think that's a really heads-up play from Coder too. I think he did pay for that Ambrosia out of his spirit deck so that Nemisail was able to get in that extra point of damage and, like put Law on having exactly this Ambrosia in order to not use his last spirit to play a card.
And it's safe to say he brought back the Earth right now, which is going to me a PTA. Coder has not had a free back row turn ever. Every single turn, something was active, and it was enough to secure him this game 8-0.
That was truly the world's most valuable Nemisil that I think I've ever seen in my entire life.
You know, it had 4 on it. It healed for 4. It took 4 from 2 Gorgon's Gazes.
It destroyed 2 Gorgon's Gazes, dealt like 8 damage, and healed for 4. Like,
and
best
while
Nemisil
sitting
ever.
at 6 attack under Aeolia.
Exactly. Oh, and not to mention, actually, it cleared Zeus twice. It took 2 Zeus drops, and it still tanked it all.
What an incredible Nemisil. That is the MVP. Let's see what the MVP will be and go into Clash 2.
All right, it seems like both casters have finished up siding, and now we are going to see them attempt again. I believe Law is going to start off this time with a mulligan. Definitely not the situation you want to be in.
Mulligan.
Is that 2 mulligans?
What just happened?
That never happened.
You were down a game and you mulligan twice?
In Thunder, no less. And there's no Ash
You
Rabbit.
didn't even start with the Shrabbit.
Where's the Ash Rabbit?
I'm so confused. This is Thunder. How do you not have an opening hand twice?
That's crazy.
What did he side into? I'm confused.
Not
what could have
Thunder
happened?
cards.
Like, do you think he saw nothing but runes?
I don't know. Now I'm wondering whether or not like one of those was just like a greedy mulligan. Maybe the hand was good. Maybe it was playable. But, you know, he wanted better. He wanted the best hand because he's got to get back in here. Which I think is a valid
you
strategy.
went for if that was the play and went for the best hand and didn't even have a PTA for a Strabbit, you lost that opening turn and 2 mulligans. Because now Coder is sitting pretty. Like, we have the Elestriad here, so you know he can run over it, but you are down in spirits, my friend. It's going to be a miracle to see Law pull this one out.
Yeah, especially you really don't want to be 7 spirits behind at any point during a match, and definitely not on turn 2.
I mean, who knows? Who knows? Maybe his play is going for a big Arcalith buff.
You know, I think that's actually entirely reasonable as well. We do know that there's the 3rd Arcalith in Law's side deck, so it's entirely possible that his strategy is just to load up the underworld with those spirits and just run it out. I think that that's something that we've seen before with casters do with Verdolith, as well as just start by just expending to find your Verdolith, and then just heal back and get a big guy on turn 1.
Same thing with Frost as well. You just mulligan 4 times to get 4 spirits, and then Cloudling comes out turn 1. It's the Arcalith!
Are we prophets? Look at that!
All right, so he knows what he's doing. He had to play. However it may have turned out, he is here. He enchants 1 onto Zeus. 3 onto Arcalith, or 2 more. I don't know if I would have. I probably would have put one back on Zeus.
Yeah, because it can enchant up to. I guess it's up to 3, right? Never mind.
It's up to 3, yeah. But I still would have put 2 on Zeus, but he still pays
so
1
too.
off of the Arcalith for race to the top. I guess wanting to secure the KO and going in for 3 just has to get bounced. Yeah, that makes sense. Like, there's actually value there because you would have lost 3 regardless. Now he has to pay 2 more to get it back on the field in a normal cast, and he won't be able to do it because you have no Elestrals on the field. So honestly, great trade for Coder.
Yeah. It seems pretty good. But I think the biggest advantage that Coder has now is the knowledge that Arcalith is there.
Yes, now you can play around in the end of the game. And here we go. See, after all of this, just now the spirits are tied after Coder gets a specific search. I'm guessing he searched out the Toxic Swarm. Swarm was going to burn for 1 on receiving a win. And you have to wonder, does he have Alter in his deck? He does not.
Yeah, no.
We do have an Ambrosia, though, healing.
Ambrosia coming out and healing for 3. It's interesting to see Coder not run that Alter, because usually in competitive play we see Alter come out a lot, but you know, in these kind of more structured kind of tournaments where you know what you're going to be playing against, you can say, okay, well, maybe I don't need Alter in this matchup, and you can switch it out for more impactful cards. So super interesting deck building.
Yeah, I mean, against Thunder, Cryoblast is a very powerful card. It kind of gets the same result. But if you're also going for a Windburn strategy with Toxic Swarm or Nimbussail, whatnot, I can see Alter having its value. But in any case, resting on your laurels is going to take out the Toxic Swarm from Law's end. So now we have a unfortunate spirit count. A set 3 on Law's side, and I'm guessing it's going to be a pass here. No Elestrals to cast is very interesting.
Yeah, I think we could kind of infer that there was not going to be any Elestrals there because he did have to use the Ambrosia off of the Zeus and use the Zeus drop in order to use the Resting on Your Laurels to destroy that Toxiswarm. But I think it's probably a pretty good read here to not play into Toxiswarm plus Exaltair, and we are going to see the Gorgon's Gaze come down and negate this Exaltair, which would have swung in probably for 5 spirits at least.
Yeah, it was going to burn, it was going to hurt, so that's a very valuable Gorgon's Gaze. We have an Ambrosia healing Coder up very significantly. He does get rid of his Aeolus, but he puts the spirits onto the field with his Exaltair. You can't help but feel like the back row are absolutely live right now.
Oh, absolutely. And it looks like Law is going to be expending to draw. That is
what is this game for him?
Oh my God! This is just not what you see when you play Thunder. This is very out of the ordinary. But you know,
there's no Elestriad, there's no Jolton, there's no Elestrad. I'm so confused.
I wonder if he sided out of a lot of Elestrals, maybe.
And I mean, possibly, yeah. I would love to ask him what wrong here. But we have a Quackle that just, putting the stick in the claw, as it were. Healing up to 15 spirits in his spirit deck about 8 turns into this clash.
And not only that, we're also going to get that Gorgon's Gaze out. It seems like Coder tried to use the Nexus effect of Exaltair to push for another 2 spirits of damage. And I think that probably would have been lethal if it had connected, right?
There's no way. It would have been, yeah. But now I'm assuming that Thunder is in the spirit deck. We are going to see Arcalith come down here.
Comes down.
But again, with 3 face down and 15 spirits, you have to believe that thing is live.
Oh, yeah. This Arcalith is getting shielded back to hand 100%. Coder, I don't think.
Gorgon's Gaze.
Okay, fair enough.
Oh, yeah, all the same, because now you just have the Nexus, and if the Nexus is successful, it will be successful because there's nothing that can stop it, and you just burn for 2.
Oh, it looks like he's also going to be throwing the PTA out as
That's
well.
Rude.
That's crazy.
That's it. I think Law is just conceding it. Yeah, that's the concession.
That's
what
just a complete
happened
slaughter.
with that game?
I don't know.
I've never seen Thunder look so disheveled. We saw a double mulligan. We saw no Estrabit after the mulligans, no PTAs, no shield. We did see some Gorgons, but otherwise, it didn't look like the Thunder that we knew.
No, definitely not. And that's definitely a far cry from like full power Thunder back in the Spark It days, where you just go Spark It, Zeus, look at your hand, rip a card, play Astrabbit, Spark It again, Spark It, Astrabbit, Zeus, etc. And the game just is over immediately.
Yeah, but this time, like it was just that was just off. I don't know what to say. I would love to have a conversation with Law about what happened that game, but it's clear to see that the cards were not in his favor. Wow. Thank you guys for watching this clash. Make sure you guys are subscribed and stay tuned to the second half of Top 4. Sunseed Jess versus Caleb.exe. Earth versus Lunar.
And to find out who will be facing Coder in the finals.